Ready. Oh, yes, sir. Okay. Welcome to Conscious Continuity. I am your host, Rod the Model on IG and all socials. Thank you for joining in here. I would like to first cover what this is. So, Conscious Continuity. Conscious Continuity is a podcast where we explore the nature of awareness, identity, and altered states of consciousness. Through real experiences, breakdowns, and conversation, I'll be documenting what it means to expand beyond the physical mind. And I would like you guys, my listeners, to gain insight into your dreams, out of body experiences, and deeper mechanics of human consciousness. So that's just a little brief little opener, I suppose, that was co-created with AI, artificial intelligence, which it's a very interesting because I think that is a limited form of consciousness, but is a growing one. And I think what I would like this first episode to be about is because I already have guests lined up. Thank you, everyone that's already lined up and wants to participate, wants to be on here. I think I'm going to have a gentleman named Todd on here tomorrow or Tuesday. He's a general manager of a First Watch that's down here. And so, but something that's happened as I've been talking about these topics and been dealing with this is the people that are interested in these things have been just popping up and excuse me in my life in a kind of serendipitous way where it just the more of something you look for, the more of it you see, and the more of it that's drawn to you, and it gets the idea of being on similar wavelengths or the same wavelength as something. Birds of a feather flock together. This kind of ideology is very true in my experience, and so I am actively promoting and encouraging these type of people to encounter me. So I'm super blessed. And I just wanted to come in here and first, I suppose I would like to just talk about how meditating led me to have an out of body experience, and I've since had multiple out of body experiences, and I've now begin to understand that actually I've been having tons of out of body experiences. I just did not interpret them in that way. And that's kind of the unique thing about these experiences is it is truly up to your interpretation and what you think it means. And then what you think it means something for you that causes you to act and do something. A lot of this stuff is up to user interpretation. It's almost like reading a book by an author. It's like we can read the same book, and how you interpret it's just completely unique to you. And yeah. So, anyways, all right. So let me first start off. Let me start off with this. So I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've always been in sales. Essentially, I always loved interacting with people, talking with people, and well, actually, let me go back a little bit more. Let's take it back. Let's take it back just a tiny bit more. So currently, I'm an entrepreneur. Working alongside ClearPath Credit, also iHook Media, and DC100. These are all three separate entities and brands I work with, and I've been as a business consultant. And something that's helped me so much in these is working with people. And what's helped me work with people the most is one, I have the physical understanding of the world, the way the world operates, my best understanding of it anyways. But there's always been this other side of it. Some people call it spirit, some people call it the universe. People call it, tons of different things. However, I believe those couple terminologies I've just provided would give you enough of understanding to understand what I am talking about. And I believe that has always guided my interactions for better or worse. Always for better. Sometimes I misappropriately think it's worse or I think it's bad, but it's always for the better. It is just up to me to perceive it that way. So, in these experiences or in all this training development I had and working these industries and sector, it's like they've all been filled by this, people's belief in themselves, people belief in God and structure universe. And that has pretty much been in my entire life too, even from a young child. I grew up as a Christian in a Christian household. My great grandmother is super religious, lovely, actually best woman in the world. Love her very much. And I think she's 94 or about to be 95. She's up there. She got a lot of wisdom on her. And I grew up in a pretty religious household, and so I just believed I believed Christianity because that's what she believed. And even though I eventually stepped away from it because of the people, I just was like, I don't know about this because I'm in church, and then they're doing weird stuff, trying to and they're doing these weird games, trying to make me eat. Like, I remember the day that I didn't want to go to church anymore is because they were trying to make me eat a peppermint with mustard on it. Like, I'm a little kid, and they're trying to make me eat this because I didn't answer a Bible verse correctly or something. Anyways, I didn't want to eat the thing. And they're like, oh, you gotta eat, you gotta eat it. I just, I start crying. I just left. I didn't eat it. And then I pretty much stopped going after that. Now, outside of that traumatic experience, I mean, it wasn't really that traumatic, but as a kid, it was terrible. Outside of that experience, the people in the church is what I thought church was about. And so I was disconnected from it or stepped away from it because I associated people's behaviors with God, with the idea of Jesus and God, the Holy Spirit, and Christianity, with that particular lens. And however, but I didn't believe that we're just nothing, that, we're just these random physical things and there's no purpose and whatever. I never held that belief, but I just stepped away. And because of that, and then as I got older and I began to go to college and I began to expand my experiences, I was re-interested in it because it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm working, I'm doing these things, life's cool, but, I don't think this is it, though. I don't think, once you die, it's just blankness and nothingness. And so I've always had this curiosity about beyond, what is after life here on earth, or what was before it even. And I began looking at different religions, and I have a bunch of friends that are Muslim, and just hearing about the Quran and what the Quran says, and about their 5 pillars and their tenets, and then in Buddhism, and what's the other one? Just a bunch of different religions. To me, as I began to learn about these things, I felt like they're all talking about the same thing. The way I saw it was that these religions are very similar to language. So, like hello, hola, ni hao, these are all ways to say hello. It's a greeting, but they're all different languages to say the greeting. However, all of them contextually are trying to get the same message across. And this is how I feel about religion and how I feel about a lot of things that many people fight over. We have so many different approaches to get to the same thing, and then people fight over the approach to get there. And this is, in my opinion, pretty much the foundation of most conflicts, is that someone says this is the right way to do it, and it should be like this because that's the way they do it. And then the other people are like, well, we say it like this. And how about sword to the throat? And then they just fight and kill each other over these otherwise benign things. And so I believe religion is the same kind of divide. So I share that antidote just to say that as I explore religions, that's what I felt they were doing. And so I wanted to learn from as much as I could because I believe to know the most effective way of doing things, you must know many ways. So because if you only know one way, it is equally the best way and also the worst way. And, which is, I thought a pretty simple concept, but I remember I had a real argument with this guy. His name was Emmanuel. And good dude. We rapped together, freestyle together. I love the guy. He's an awesome guy. I hope he's doing well. Probably back in New York or something. But we were having a disagreement because I was telling him that I was like, dude, if you only have one car in your garage, it's the fastest car and it's also your slowest car that you have because you only have one car. And he was like, how's it the slowest car? I was like, because you have one car. So it's going to be both whatever the best is and also the worst because it's the only unit of measure. That's the only thing that you have. He said, yeah, but the car's faster, like it's faster than other cars. I'm like, I'm not saying it's a slow car. I'm saying that in your possession, in your arsenal of vehicles, you have one vehicle. And so when I say what's your least car of comfort, and you go this car, well, it's also your most comfortable car because you don't have any other car. Anyways, I failed to communicate effectively that concept. So, my point is with that is that I believe that to know the best way for myself is I have to explore all these other ways, and this is what I think life experience is about, is exploring all these other ways so you can get the best idea of who you really are. And this is why it's important to show up authentically to yourself, so the way when you're reacting to stuff, you're reacting as you and not some thing that's been conditioned to react to react to stuff. Like, for example, my favorite color is red because my grandma's favorite color is red. So if I spend my life reacting to things with my favorite color being red because my grandma's favorite color is red, it's not really mine. It's just my grandma's like the color red, so I like the color red. And now I build a life with all these red objects and all this stuff. It's like, well, I actually don't like red. And what happens is eventually it catches up to you because it's not, you just feel uncomfortable. Like, man, I really don't even like this color. And then one day you have to face it. So engage authentically with the world is the point of that. Engage with as little mass as you can so you can get the most true image about yourself. And I don't have any cliff notes, so I might be rambling here, but I'm making it. Just follow along with me here. Follow along with the podcast. I'm gonna get to everything. Okay, we're gonna have a lot of episodes. All right, so this is just, if you don't know me, this is a good example of who I am. I talk about a lot of different things now, and I will go on tangents, for better or worse. Always for better. There's 2 cameras, so if you're just listening to this podcast, I keep looking at one camera and looking at the other camera just because there's 2 cameras. So, we get set up around here. Anyways, so I go on a journey to learn about all these different religions and whatnot, and I conclude that they're all talking about the same thing. I don't think one's more right than the other. I think that I need to learn a little bit. I need to learn as much as I can from each one of them, and learn the things that are most applicable to me. So I'm learning, I'm developing, and then I guess I stopped learning at some point. Like I stopped being in it. I become a business consultant, and I'm super my head's deep into being a business consultant. I'm reading all the books like by Traction, Gino Wickman, From Good to Great, and all these like practical, pragmatic applications to business success, which spurred my career as a business consultant, which is amazing, and I like doing that. I really like helping companies and structure in that way. More importantly, people, because at the end of the day, business is just people. So if you can figure out people, you can figure out business. Now, I'm doing all this, but that feeling of there's got to be more is still just this omnipresent force in my life, and it's just I may not look at it directly, but it's just always there, and I know it's there. And so about 9 months ago ish, I stumbled across this book. It's called, and I actually stumbled across the book before. My awareness wasn't on that frequency, so I saw the book and I just didn't think anything of it. However, that book was called The Kabbalion by the 3 Initiates, and I get this book and I'm like, I'm gonna check this out. And I read the book, and then I get the book on audiobook because I was driving a lot, so it was one of the best ways to spend my time because I didn't want to just drive and listen to music. I like driving. Sometimes I was just driving straight silence, but then I started driving, listen to books too. And so, the Kabbalion just hit different this time. Like as below, so above, like these rules and laws in the universe, these immutable things. I'm like, man, this is making a lot of sense to me. And some way or another, I can't remember, but from that book, I read another book, which I probably could find it. From that book, I read another book, and I can't remember exactly what it was. I just know that one of those books bridged me to the concept of being out of body, like out of body experiences. And then I read a book by Robert Monroe, and it was called Out of Body. It was called Journey Out of Body. And this guy, he basically just details that he suddenly woke up out of his body. Like one day he woke up and he was out of his body. He was like, "What the hell is going on?" Swam to his body, got back in and woke up, and it freaked him out. Like he thought he was crazy. Like this was like a very hardcore, business-minded, non-woo-woo, out-of-body, spiritual. Like this guy, he wasn't like that. And so for him to suddenly have this experience was a direct contradiction to his way of being for, however old he was at the time, 40 years old or something like that. And And so eventually, I mean, he goes to doctors. He's trying to get his people to tell him what the hell's going on. So eventually, it keeps happening. He's like, know what? If I'm not gonna die, if it's not gonna kill me, I'm just gonna deal with it. And so it begins this exploration of this out of body experience. And I resonated so much with his books. So much of it just seemed real to me, because you can you can be you can have this look of pessimism and just be like, this isn't real. This is out of body stuff. Like, what the hell are these people on? Like, oh man, these people need to have a coffee, be put in a psych ward. Like, you can have that particular view, but I'm big in imagination. Ask anyone that really knows me, dude. I have quite the imagination. That's why I love video games so much. I like the fantastical video games. I put a lot of hours in games. I'm not going to talk about that now because I could talk about that forever. Oh, sorry about that. It's quenching my thirst. So he's detailing his experiences. But anyways, I'm so excited about the book. I'm reading them. He has 3 of them. I read all 3 of them, and I'm reading them multiple times and going back, clicking notes. And I'm like, dude, I want that. I want to have out of body experience. This sounds cool. And then I started looking up out of body experiences on like YouTube. And then it's like then I saw a bunch of stuff about near death experiences, people that are almost dying, and I'm like, oh well, I don't want to almost die to have the experience, I'm not really, I don't want that, So I was like, well, what's the other way? And then, there's a way of drugs. The other popular group that people that have these experiences are like, they take shrooms, they do LSD, they do some type of psychedelic, some type of hallucinogenic, or something that alters their mind chemically with some kind of drug. And I've never really been a big drug guy or anything everything of that nature. Like I've tried and dabbled with some, and just not my thing. Just not my thing. So I'm like, okay, well, I don't want to do that route. And then also in the book, Mr. Monroe was like, yeah, I wouldn't recommend that. And me, I was like a big fan. I was like, well, I mean, I already don't do it, and plus he's not recommended it, so I'm for sure not going to do it that way. Like seek those kind of experiences from those type of methodologies. And so basically the only way left was like through meditation. And I've grown up in religion. I did prayer, which to my current understanding, prayer and meditation to me are very close related. They're just like one's traveling by car, the other one's traveling by truck. Like they're very similar to me, although they're different. So I began to meditate, and I never really meditated. And so the first step was learning how to meditate, because I didn't, like, I'm sure you've heard people say, oh, meditate or do this. But if you've never meditated before, you probably have thought of it. And then when you think about it, you're like, well, how do I meditate? Like, what do I do? And that was essentially me. Even though the books that I read have tons of guides and practices. There's a book called by Anderson Silva. It's like The Power of the Mind or something. I need to be a little bit more organized next time I do this. But anyways, there's a book that it talks about a bunch of practices, and one way that's really effective for people that maybe don't want to listen to anything when you're meditating is just to count from 100 to 0. Excuse me. Count from 100 to 0 in your head. 100, 99, 98, 97, 96. Just do that. And anytime you break concentration, like you think of another thought, oh, interesting thought. And then you get back to where you were left off. Okay, 96, 95. And you just do that all the way to 0. By the time you get to 0, you'll be in a pretty solid meditative state. Now, the Monroe books, they had something called Hemisync. Now, Hemisync is essentially, it plays 2 different frequencies in your ear. So it'll play something at 104 hertz, and then something at, let's say it'll play something at 100 hertz, and then it'll play something at 107 hertz. And so what you hear is 7 hertz, because the frequency, basically, they cancel each other out, right? And the remaining is what you hear, and it creates a vibrato in your ears. So you hear it lifting on your left and your right, and make sure you have a good headset. And they use that to basically get people into meditative states. Now, they're doing it to prep people to go out of body. Meditating isn't necessarily about going out of body. However, for me, that's what I was looking for. I wanted to get out of body, because to me, that would have been like, that was the experience. Like I believed it all so much. Like I really believed it. However, I didn't know it. And the difference between believing is like I believe that I'm going to pick up this can and it will lift when I put my strength on it. Yay, it did it. The experience though of it is the knowing of it. Now if someone comes like, Rob, you didn't pick up that can. Doesn't matter what they say. I know I did. Like I have the actual internal knowing. And so that's what I was looking for with the out of body stuff. Like I really believed it. I just didn't know it. And so I felt like my belief system needed that validation. And so I began to meditate. And I liked the methods of the binaural beats that work well for me. It's some people creep it out. Like there's one woman I told her she should do it. She was totally creeped out by it and didn't want to do it that way. So, figure out which way works best for you. But the way that worked really well for me was listen to these binaural beats and listen to hemisync frequencies. It helped me get into concentration. So I would do it and then I would feel really relaxed, but nothing would really happen. Like I felt still here. And so I just kept doing it every night, man. I'm telling you, every night I was doing this stuff. And then I'm watching this dude named Bashar. Well, his name is Dara Anka. So there's a guy, his name is Dara Anka. Like me, I'm Rob D'Amato. So you have me, and then he channels or he allows spirits or these other entities to communicate through him, and he speaks for them. Now, you could choose to believe if that's real or not, or if he's just making the whole thing up. I don't know. I like that, but I do like what he says. I think that he says a lot of things that are true and make a lot of sense to me and have been true in my life. So, so I'm listening. I would listen to some of that stuff that was going on that they were speaking about, and then I would go into my meditative state. Then I got Blue Lotus tea because I was reading that in Egypt that was a very popular herb that they use to help induce this state. Because I just really wanted to get out of my body. So I really wanted this to happen. So I was acting, I was doing all the actions that I believe would induce it, that would have caused it to happen. And that's an important side note, by the way. So if you ever want to achieve anything in life, you got to approach it that way. With one, that the strong desire that you want to happen, but more importantly, the physical actions that would cause the consequence of those physical actions to be the desired outcome. So this is what you apply in anything, in the business especially, or just life, or anything goes. Anyways, so I'm doing all this stuff, and one night I have a slight out-of-body experience. So I'm getting to my meditative state. I've taken my Blue Lotus tea, and I'm like just sitting there relaxing, and I felt something brush up against my head. So I'm laying on the couch, and I feel something brush up against my head, and I'm like, oh, what the hell is that? And then I feel like I fall to my body. Like I feel like I brushed, like it felt like I was floating, and then I snapped down into my body when I felt like the ceiling or something touched my head. This is just what it felt like to me. And then my body was vibrating like crazy. Like it was like a crazy sensation, like these vibrations in my body. Now in the books, and if you're not familiar with this, the vibration feeling that I'm talking about, I don't know if you guys have ever been to Lifetime or any gym that has a lot of equipment, but if you guys know those little vibrating pads that you can stand on, so imagine that times 100 at every molecule. It feels like every single molecule or atom that your body is composed of is vibrating like that. It's just a super intense feeling. It's not really painful, but it's just very intense. So that was like my first like little like I don't know, quasi little out of body experience, right? And then I'm like, whoa, I was super excited. I'm like, wow, what was that? Wow. And I'm kind of sleepy because I was meditating and, but this worked. I think I was, every night I had been practicing for like weeks at that point. And like maybe it was like 2 weeks or in the third week that I had that experience. And then on like maybe the 5th or 6th week, I had my first actual real out of body experience, which was just so profound. I mean, it was so amazing. So I'm going to give you guys the experience of what happened. And then I'm also going to give you my my annotations, my verbal annotations as I'm telling the story. So let me go find it actually because I detailed it. So it helps me how long are we at right now? 24. Okay, cool. So I'm gonna go through the story real quickly, and then I'm just gonna wrap up the first episode because I just want this. This is really just a preliminary, so people can have an idea of what this channel is about and have just some information and the things I talk about. And man, there's so much, dude. I'm actually really excited because there's so much I could talk about, and I can all these people that I want to have on and talk these unique experiences, and it could be you, one of my listeners. Maybe you have a story to tell. That's very interesting. You need to come on. Anyways, okay. So I have my first real out of body experience, which is, let me go find it. Damn, was it last year? That's crazy. What is going on? Okay, so let me try to find this, guys. In the meantime, while I am browsing here, if you are listening up until this point, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section saying consciousness is great. This is just the way I can know my real listeners, say consciousness is great, and then put whatever comment that you want to comment in on there. But sometimes I ask people if they watch or listen to my podcast. They're like, yeah, totally. I needed to add that in there so that way I'm like, oh, okay. What do I tell people what was the call to action? What was I already forgot it. I say conscious is something. Conscious is great. I think that's what I said. Okay, I just want to add that in there real quick. All right, let me look through my 2025 stuff. Why is it not showing me in a easily accessible format? Okay, here we go. Let's go find my first out of body experience. Oh wait, I can search by hide 1113. Is this it? Hey, okay, here's another thing too, by the way. You guys need to write down your dreams. Like, I have written down all my dreams, and ever since I started meditating, and they're not really dreams. They're really more experiences. And I'll have to talk another episode about this, but you want to write those down because they oftentimes give you so much powerful insight, and they actually help you work through a lot of feelings that you haven't processed yet or you haven't dealt with. So be sure you guys are documenting your experiences. But the reason when you write them down for all that stuff, but also it's like you'll remember as soon as you start reading it. Okay. Man. Okay. I think I'm going to save it for next episode anyway, because it's really a cool experience. But basically, I meditated for like a month and a half before I had my first out of body experience. And I do want to talk about it. However, I want to talk about it. I think I want to talk about it in its own segment and not grouped in this segment in particular, because I just kind of wanted to make a short intro to what conscious continuity is and what it's about. So that way people have an understanding of when I say, hey, check, you want to be on DC 100 podcast or you want to be on conscious continuity? Because they are two different concepts. DC 100 already has a couple episodes out, and conscious continuity, this will be its first episode. So I need to put that on there. But, in notes, what I have to say here is thank you all for listening again. This conscious continuity is sponsored by ClearPath Credit. ClearPath is the entity that is responsible for helping with funding, getting your business structure right, and not only getting your business structure right, but making sure you foundationally are aligned. Well, ClearPath doesn't do anything about your financial. You need to fix your financial alignment. That's not on ClearPath, but ClearPath will give you the access and tools and put you in the right financial setting in order to maximize once you're on the foundational right path. So, ClearPath Credit, that's a sponsor. Shout out to ClearPath. You guys rock. You guys are awesome. And I'm also on the face of a lot of the stuff because it's, one of my little baby things. But yeah, outside of that, man, I think we'll be posting a total of 1 to 2 episodes a week. I've gotten a little bit more scheduled and in terms of what I want to be creating. But this was important. This needed to happen because I wanted to have a base episode, so that way I can give it to people, so that way they can go reference it. And that's all this is. That's all this is. And also another thing, as you guys are seeing me on here, you'll notice that my size and strength and power are just increasing ridiculously, and that's because of DC 100, of course. And I'm just saying this for myself as well. Right now, I think I'm about almost 190, and it's April 19th. I want to be 200 pounds by the end of this month. That lasts, I don't know, if a pound a day, a little more a pound a day, I don't know. We'll shoot for like at least 190, at least 195 solid, wake up in the morning. But we could probably end the day at 200 pounds, so maybe that'd be good. This is not related to conscious continuity. I'm just saying this for myself, for future reference. I guess it is related to conscious continuity because one vision that I have for myself is to be physically indomitable, spiritually immutable, and financially unlimited. Yeah, those are the three cores that you want to have. I got to put that somewhere. I'm gonna figure out. I think it's a pretty cool way to say it, but I don't know. Maybe the last time to change. Anyways, thank you guys for tuning in. It's been awesome getting this thing started. I'm super excited for all the guests I'm gonna have on, and I know it's gonna bring a lot of value for a lot of you. It brings a lot of value for myself. So I know if it's valuable for me, it's definitely valuable for other people because we are all not so different. All we gotta do is focus on how we're alike. And then, all the differences just really help mix it up to make it a little bit better. Add a little this, add a little, I'm saying? Okay. Well, anyways. All right. That's it. I'll catch you guys on the next episode. Check it out. Rob D'Amato on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok. I don't post there, but it's on there. Check me out on all those other things. Love for you guys to build a community around this, and let's keep growing, baby. So I'll see you guys next time.